Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make period pants out of the Wonder Undies Waves and Wild pattern. I will link that in the comments for you. If you don't have that pattern, it is really great. These period pants have an athletic wicking jersey topper with Zorb 3D in the middle, PUL, and then just cotton lycra backing with black cotton lycra body. While the Wonder Undies sometimes can run big, I feel like these actually run a little small. So I measure about halfway in the middle of the large measurements on the Waves and Wild Wonder Undies measurements. And these are comfortable but a little snug. I think I could size up and they would be perfect, especially if I try to make a heavy pair and put extra absorbency in here. I will definitely need to size up to the extra large in the Wonder Undies version. So that is my recommendation. If you're on the top half of the size, consider sizing up. And if you find that isn't the case for you, please also let me know about that in the comments. I would very much like to know. I will go through the adjustments that I make to the Wonder Undies pattern. Without further chit-chat, here is the tutorial on how to make Wonder Undies into period pants. Enjoy. Hey guys, so I promised that I would tell you how I have updated the Wonder Undies pattern to make them period pants. I'm not going to show any full pattern pieces of the Wonder Undies on this video, but I will show you some of the cutouts that I have used from my updated pattern pieces. So this is the gusset that I have, and what I have done from the original gusset is I took the pattern piece on the back end, which is the wider end of the gusset. I added 1 1/4 inches, and on the front end, which is the narrower end of the gusset, I added 2 inches. So you'll have to make an alteration to all 3 pieces. So for example, these I'm doing the high-rise version of the Wonder Undies, and this is my tiny little piece. Because I increased the gusset, I had to then decrease the size of the pattern of the front piece, and the same on the back. The way that I did it, I made a brief cut, and then I made a shorts cut with my period adjustments. And I really liked the way that the front of the brief cut fits with the absorbent and all the extra pieces in the gusset. And I also really liked the full coverage of the shorts cut. So I kind of made the best of both worlds. Make sure when you're doing all of this that you're doing it with the elasticated gusset and not with the leg band gusset. Because you don't want leg bands, you don't want open seams. That's going to wick all of the moisture away from the absorbent piece and into your leg bands. That's not what you want. So on the front end of my gusset, this end, the skinnier side, I traced when I was lengthening it, because I didn't want to lengthen the gusset just straight. I wanted it to follow the curve of the brief cut. So I traced my brief cut after I removed my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So if I have my front piece of my brief, I've cut off the seam allowance. I have my gusset piece, I've cut off the seam allowance. I placed those two together, and then I traced up 2 inches and drew a line across. You add a 1/4 inch for the seam allowance. And that is my new gusset piece. And then where that line is that you drew on the brief, you're going to add a 1/4 inch on the bottom of that, and now you have your front piece and the front end of your gusset piece. Now, you want to flip your gusset piece over and do the same thing on the back end. What I did is I took the shorts cut and I matched it up with the side of the brief cut. So because the shorts cut, you'll notice if you look at the sides of the pattern pieces, the shorts cut is a fair bit longer than the brief cut, and you need those to match up when you're putting the pieces together. So I matched up my brief cut on the side and traced as much as I could around the bum of the shorts cut, and then kind of curved it up to match the brief, and tried to do it in such a way that it looked somewhat normal, like a normal pair of pants, to get the shorter version on the side, but the fuller coverage around the bum. From there, you're going to do the same thing you did on the brief. So you're going to cut off the seam allowance on the back piece of the pant and cut off the seam allowance on the back piece of the gusset. Place those two points together and draw a line up 1 1/4 inches and trace to add to your gusset that full coverage bit. Draw that line across, and then from there, on the gusset, you add 1/4 inch for the seam allowance, and on the pant, you add 1/4 inch on the seam allowance. And that is how you get your pieces. Once you have your pieces, so you'll have 3 pieces, same as the Wonder Undies pattern. You have your front piece, that's kind of your brief cut. You'll have your gusset piece, that's kind of brief on the front and shorts on the back. And then you'll have your back piece, that's half shorts, half brief, if you do it the way that I did. Oh, I lied to you. You are going to need 4 pattern pieces. So once you've got your gusset finished, what I did is I laid my gusset down and I put my tracing paper over my gusset, and I marked little dots that were about 1/4 inch in all the way around, and drew a new gusset that's just a little bit smaller. I'll show you how much smaller. So it's just a hair smaller. You can see. It's just about 1/4 inch all the way around. The exception is down here on the front. I made it a good bit more. I just added a little bit more of a curve, and I didn't bring it all the way out here. I tried that, and I found it very uncomfortable, almost painful. So that's the 4th piece, is your absorbent piece. So I cut 3 of my main gusset. Thank you, dear. I cut a PUL, an athletic wicking jersey. That's my topper. And it is really nice when you're wearing it because you do not feel anything. It's great. And then I cut whatever is the same as my pants. So for me, it's just black cotton lycra. That's my outside piece. And then I cut one. I use Zorb. So this is the Zorb 3D with the antimicrobial Silvadur whatever. And then you're going to have your front piece and your back piece, your waistband. I use a waistband on my period pants. I find it very comfortable. And then you need to have a fold-over elastic. That gives you a nice finished seam. So everything these look great. It's a really great looking pair of pants. Hope this was helpful for you guys. If you know where to find better 25mm fold-over elastic in the UK, please tell me in the comments because I would love to know. Otherwise, you can ask any questions that you have, and I'm happy to help. I hope this is helpful and it helps you make period pants.